The sun began to dip behind the tall brick walls of the school building, casting long golden shadows over the empty playground, where the echoes of laughter still seemed to linger in the warm afternoon air. Inside the grand decorated hall, the final streamers of the farewell party swayed gently in the breeze coming through the open windows as the music faded into a soft, rhythmic hum that felt like a lullaby. The desks were pushed back, and the chalkboard was covered in colorful messages of good luck and promises to stay friends forever, marking the end of a long and wonderful chapter. The protagonists sat quietly for a moment by their favorite window, looking out at the old oak tree where they had spent so many recesses dreaming of the future, and felt a wave of calm wash over them, knowing that every lesson learned and every memory made was safely tucked away in their heart like a treasure. Like a book being closed after a perfect final sentence, the energy of the day began to settle into a peaceful stillness that made their eyelids feel heavy and warm. They imagined all their classmates tucked into their own beds, dreaming of the new adventures waiting for them, while the school itself seemed to go to sleep under the watchful silver moon. The heavy backpack was gone, replaced by the light feeling of a goal achieved and a journey completed, and as they leaned back, they could almost hear the quiet whisper of the hallways, wishing them a soft good night. With one last look at the familiar sights, they let the excitement of the party dissolve into a deep, serene comfort, falling into a dreamless sleep where the only sound was the gentle breath of a world at rest and the quiet promise of a bright new morning just beyond the horizon. The soft glow of the moon began to peek through the classroom windows, painting silver rectangles across the polished wooden floors where so many footsteps had traveled over the years. The once loud and bustling hallways were now wrapped in a velvet silence that felt like a warm blanket, protecting all the secrets and stories shared within these walls. Every corner of the school seemed to be exhaling a long sigh of relief after the final farewell hug was given, and the last locker was clicked shut for the summer. The protagonist imagined the empty playground equipment standing still under the stars, the swings gently swaying as if remembered by a ghost of a breeze, while the scent of old books and sharpened pencils blended with the sweet fragrance of night, blooming jasmine from the school garden. It was a strange and beautiful feeling to know that a place so full of life could also be so perfectly still. And as they drifted deeper into this peaceful thought, the memory of the teachers' voices and the ringing of the bells became a soft, rhythmic hum in the back of their mind, like a distant song played on a music box. The future was a vast, open sky waiting to be explored, but for this one perfect moment, there was nothing to do but rest in the quiet satisfaction of a job well done and a childhood well spent. Their thoughts slowed down like a turning page until the image of the school gates fading into the mist became the last thing they saw before a deep and dreamless sleep took over, carrying them toward a morning where they would wake up older, wiser, and ready for whatever comes next. The moonlight continued to crawl slowly across the empty desks, like a silent guardian of all the dreams and secrets whispered in the back of the classroom throughout the long year. The soft rhythm of the nocturnal world began to hum through the walls of the school building, as if the very bricks were vibrating with the slow, steady pulse of a long winter's nap. The protagonist felt their thoughts becoming as light as the dust motes dancing in a stray beam of moonlight, drifting aimlessly through the quiet air of the empty library. Every shelf of books seemed to be whispering a gentle lullaby of all the tales ever told within those pages. and the scent of old paper and ink was a familiar comfort. The grand wooden doors were now locked tight, keeping the peace and the silence inside like a precious secret that belonged only to the night and the stars. The playground outside was silver and gray in the moonlight, with the tall slides and the sturdy swings standing like silent statues in the cool grass. There was a profound sense of completion in the air, as if every problem ever solved on a chalkboard and every game ever played on the field had finally found its perfect resting place. The protagonist imagined the school as a giant ship anchored in a calm sea of dreams, swaying slowly with the tide of the night. The heavy curtains of sleep were finally drawing closed over the day, and as the last echoes of the party dissolved into the infinite quiet, they surrendered to the warmth and the safety of the stillness. The deep velvet blue of the midnight sky had now completely enveloped the school grounds, and the distant chirping of the crickets felt like a slow, steady pulse. Every locker that had once clanged shut with the energy of 1,000 students now stood in a silent, silver row, guarding the memories of heavy books and folded notes. The protagonist felt their own spirit drifting through the quiet corridors, where the floor tiles gleamed like a still lake under the moonlight. The air was cool and smelled of rain and distant jasmine, a scent that seemed to wash away any lingering sadness about leaving and replaced it with a heavy, warm sense of peace. They imagined the principal's office and the teacher's lounge all tucked away in shadows, with the computers turned off and the pens resting in their holders. There was no more rush to be anywhere, no more clocks to watch, and no more homework to finish, because the long journey had reached its perfect destination in the stillness of this night. The protagonist let their mind wander out to the empty basketball court, where the hoops stood like a silent sentinel against the stars. The entire kingdom of the school was now a sanctuary of rest, and as the final flicker of the party's excitement died down, they felt themselves sinking into a deep cushion of silence. The world was hushed and the stars were bright, and as they finally let go of the last thread of the waking day, they fell into a sleep so deep and so pure it felt like floating on a sea of light. The moonlight now rested in heavy pools across the stage of the school hall, where just hours ago the music was loud and the laughter was bright. Every step taken across those familiar floorboards throughout the years had led to this one final moment of absolute stillness. The distant hum of the city beyond the school gates was nothing more than a faint and beautiful lullaby that made the peace inside the building feel even deeper. The lockers stood in long silver lines like guardians of the past, and the chalkboards were dark and silent, waiting for new stories. The protagonist felt their eyelids becoming too heavy to hold open any longer, as the image of the school's tall clock tower against the starry sky became a soft blur of light and peace. The silence of the night finally became complete as the last echoes of the farewell music dissolved into the soft silver mist that clung to the school gardens. The heavy school gates stood tall and steady behind them, not as a barrier, but as a peaceful boundary between the wonderful years they had lived and the bright, quiet dreams that were waiting. Every star in the sky seemed to twinkle with a secret message of luck, and every rustle of the wind through the leaves whispered that it was finally time to let go. The weight of the world had vanished, leaving only a light and floating sensation as they surrendered to the ultimate comfort of a journey finished and a heart that was full. As the image of the school building faded into the velvet darkness of a peaceful mind, they slipped into a sleep so deep and so serene that the entire universe seemed to be cradling them in its arms. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your night. May you find deep peace and restful sleep. Wishing you the sweetest dreams. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.